Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my video. Okay, so I'm in this situation right now. It's kind of a crappy situation. So basically, I was driving on the freeway, and I got a phone call. So what I did was I pulled over to take the phone call. It was a pretty long phone call. I ended up turning off my car for about 15 minutes, and then after the phone call was over, I tried to turn it back on again, and this situation happened. Car's not starting at all, and I've tried it at least 8 times already. So originally I thought it was maybe the alternator that was bad, considering, but thinking about it, I don't think it's the alternator. Reason being is that the car didn't actually die out on me. I turned it off, couldn't turn it on. It didn't die out on me, but we could do, so I was thinking maybe it could be a bad battery. Now, I haven't changed my battery for a while. I haven't changed my battery for a couple of years. Perhaps a bad battery. So I was thinking, let's turn on the headlights and let's go out and see how bright they are. And when I turned them on and got out, checked it out, the headlights were pretty bright. It was pretty beaming. So I'm like under a tree. I could see the beams. It was pretty bright. But so I was thinking to myself, it's probably not the battery, but it could still be the battery, because there's no way for me to test it out. I mean, I don't know what the voltage is on the battery. So I opened up my hood. I did have a battery booster that I bought from Walmart. So basically, I opened up the hood just to see, look around, check out the terminal, see whether they were dirty or not, whether there was any kind of issue, kind of burning, anything at all to tell me that there's something that happened that made my car not able to start. So I looked at the terminals, and the terminals, all in all, the terminals were pretty clean. The terminals were pretty clean, I was a little bit, I was like looking for anything that I could look for as far as the terminals were concerned. They were pretty clean, so I was like, okay, all right, that's not a problem there. I did, check the ground just to make sure that the ground was clean. Just to make sure that the ground that's connected to the frame was clean, because I know these starting situations could happen because of that. So I checked out the crown, and the crown looked clean to me. It looked connected, no problems with that. So what I did was I took my booster out, and the reason why I thought it was the battery, because my car, I had left my lights on my car about I'd say like a couple months ago, and had a no start situation there, but it turned out that it was the battery, because I ran my lights out because I forgot to turn it off. Anyway, I put my booster on, turn on, try to start it. It didn't start. Nothing happened at all. I didn't even hear a slow crank at that point. Now, my booster was at 75%. At that point, I was pretty sure that it was probably not the. Pretty sure that it was not the battery that was the problem. And at that point, I pretty much figured that it wasn't the alternator that was the problem, because that booster should have at least given a slow start or something like that, given a slow crank or something like that. But it didn't do anything. No slow crank, nothing. So I was like, okay. I could rule out the battery, pretty much rule out the negative, pretty much rule out the terminals, probably rule out the alternator. Now I can't be 100%, 110% sure about that because, you know, I've got this little booster, but I did try using it, so it didn't work. All right, so at that point I was like, okay, this might be a bigger issue. I can't, you know, can't just take a Uber to get a battery and pop it out, pop it in. Can't do that. And I've got places to go. This is a situation that's not, you know, it doesn't sound like it's a good situation. It's not an easy fix. So I'm like, okay, what else could I look for? Now, my fob, the battery in my key fob was pretty weak, all right, because I haven't changed it out in a while. I noticed that the key fob battery was kind of weak over the last month because I would have to get closer and closer just to use the remote on it. So I actually, you know, ended up putting the battery, I ended up putting the key fob as close to the to try to start it, and nothing happened. So I couldn't guarantee that's the key fob. All right, but I'm gonna probably rule that out. But so thinking about it, it could also be the brake switch. So it could be the brake switch, but there's no way for me to determine that because I don't have anything to hold the brakes down while I go out and check it out. So it could be the brake switch. It could be the key fob. I don't think they are. I don't think that's the problem though. But here's the thing. Every time I try to turn it on, I do hear a click. So I'm just assuming that's probably coming from the relay, the starter relay. So I took the cover off the fuse box, try to figure out which fuses were good, which fuses weren't burnt, whether there were any kind of blown fuses or anything like that. But it's really kind of hard to tell considering I don't have a fuse tester on me. So I was like looking at the fuses just to see whether I could find any kind of browning of the fuses, burnt a smell or something like that had a burnt smell. Didn't come across any of that. But here's the thing about it. You know, the click that I kept on hearing, I'm going to assume that the relay is good for the starter because I actually heard that click. And it's probably coming from the relay. I'm assuming that it came from the relay because every time I try to turn it on, it would do a click. You know, it got fainter after a while, and I must have tried it like at least 15 times to try to turn the car on. Unfortunately, it never did crank over. It never did a slow crank. It never cranked over. Nothing like that. All right, but I'm going to assume that the relay is good considering I'm hearing that click. So the best thing, the whole troubleshooting thing that what I'm trying to do right now is, I was like, okay, maybe it's the fuses. Could it be the fuses? Maybe it's the fuses that's causing it. So I'm looking at the fuses, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can't test out the fuses. The fuses all look pretty good. Didn't look like it was burnt. Now, the worst situation that I've had about 2 situations where the fuses kept my car from starting. All right, one of those situations was I had a whole old Acura that I had. Basically, what happened was, nothing worked in the car. There was no power to any portion of the car, no electricity at all. And the problem was that, I did the same thing, checked out the fuse box, looked at all the fuses, and it seemed that the main fuse that connected the battery cable to the fuse box was burnt, and that's why there was like no electricity going from the battery to the fuse box. But what I did in that instance, I happened to have 2 screwdrivers, a Phillips and a flathead. So what I did was I kind of put one screwdriver on one side of the fuse, the other screwdriver on the other side of the fuse, and I pretty much connected it together, and the car started up. All right. Then at that point, I knew that the main fuse was burnt. The main fuse was burnt. So all right. So I was like, okay, the main fuse was burnt. So once I replaced that, everything worked again without any kind of issue. All right. So as far as that's concerned, now unfortunately, that's not the situation here with this car. Considering that I am getting power to everything. I mean, I'm getting power to the power windows, the radio, the blower motor, all the lights on the dash come on, my remote works. So everything works. So because my remote works for the doors and everything, I will assume because of that it's probably not the key fob. Thinking about that. But here's the thing. So that would have been an easy fix, but that's not the problem here because everything else works. Okay, so my second situation with a fuse issue was, just to go a little bit off topic. I'm pretty sure it's not the fuel pump that's the issue. It's not a gas issue, okay? It's not a gas issue. I just thought that up. It's not a gas issue. I know it's not a gas issue because there's no cranking coming from the car. Now, if it was cranking coming from the car, and it wouldn't turn over, then I could assume that it's maybe a fuel pump that was either the fuse to the fuel pump was damaged or blown, or maybe the fuse pump itself wasn't working. But that's not the case here because But going back to the fuse in itself, the second issue that I had previously, I was able to crank the car up, and this was on this was on another car that I had. I was able to crank it, but it wouldn't turn over. It wouldn't turn over. It would just crank. It wouldn't turn over. All right. It turned out that it was either the fuse to the car's computer PCM ECM, or the fuse to the fuel pump. I'm not quite sure which one it was, but I can rule that out as far as this situation is concerned, because I'm getting no crank at all. I'm getting no crank at all from this car. Unfortunately, I'm getting no crank at all from this car. All right. So those would have been all my easy fixes. If you guys are going through this situation, those would have been all your most of your troubleshooting step by step as far as that's concerned. So I'm down to a couple of things. It could be a weird thing that's happening with the car's computer, or it could be the starter that's bad. It could be a starter that's bad. Now, technically, I could, if I had a long crowbar or something like that, try to find a starter and knock it and see whether I could actually get the car started. It's a rare occasion that's happened, because I've never actually had a situation where I only probably had like one car that I had that issue where I could knock the starter and it started over. But I'm not going to try that because I don't actually have a long crowbar with me. But thinking about this situation, now, normally in this situation, the starter would be what I would think of as the culprit of this issue. Unfortunately, seeing as how, I changed up the starter about a year ago, and pretty much had the same issue but it wasn't because I wasn't on the road at that time. The car was actually parked overnight, and then in the morning I couldn't start it. And in that situation, I actually had previous instances where it wouldn't start, but after a couple of tries, it would start, and it kept on getting worse and worse, to the point where one morning I tried to start it, it wouldn't start at all. But I did change out the starter. About a year ago. I changed out the starter because of that situation. Now, so that wasn't the first thing that came up popped up when this situation occurred. So basically, I was thinking this situation. Now, I bought a starter back then I bought a starter that was refurbished from AutoZone. Now it's got a lifetime warranty. All right. Now I'm hoping it's not the starter because I don't want to put the work in as far as taking it out and putting it back in again. But if you guys don't know anything about refurbished starter, the new ones were twice as much. So I actually took the chance and bought a refurbished starter. Now, if you guys don't know anything about refurbished starters, here's what they do. All right, when you guys buy the starter, there's a course charge on there. Okay, you give them your old damaged starter, and they refund you the core charge back. So when they rebuild it, refix it, remanufacture it, what they do is they actually take the part out, fix the one part that's broken, or the couple parts that's broken, but everything else on that starter is just cleaned up. It's got the same mileage as when you gave it to them damaged, but so you're not actually getting a whole entire rebuilt starter. You're getting a starter that where it was tested for the part that was broken, that was fixed, and then they actually clean it up. So, I mean, there might be a chance, I'm hoping not, but there might be a chance that it's probably that situation where it's the starter that actually broke, which would really disappoint me, considering when I got it, it looked 100% brand new. But I am now, but I've been waiting here for the last 45 minutes waiting for a tow at this point. AutoZone, AAA is going to get back to me hopefully within the hour. I'm not quite sure about it, but this is going to put a damper on my day, and probably tomorrow too, because once I get it towed, I'm going to have to do a couple hours of checking the car out, maybe getting to the starter, checking the starter out. So I'm waiting for AAA to pick me up. If you guys are in this situation, I hope what I've told you, most of it is probably going to take care of 90% of the situations where if you guys have the same situation, you guys can just go down list by list, point by point as to what could be causing your no start situation. But if you guys want, just I'm going to keep you guys updated on this situation, just to tell you guys exactly what the situation is as far as this situation is concerned. All right, guys, just stay tuned. All right, guys. Okay, so basically it took AAA a couple hours to get to me. Unfortunately, it took them a couple hours to get to me, and I had my car towed to my house. By the way, if you guys don't have AAA, it is indispensable as far as car helping out you in situations like this. I strongly I like AAA. I'm a big AAA fan. Okay, so let's just say that I'm a big AAA fan, considering. But let's get back to the issue here. Okay, got it back home. Did a bunch of tests on everything. I charged up the battery. Nothing. It was not the battery. It wasn't the ground wire. Ground wire was good. What else? I tested out all the fuses. All the fuses were good. Tested out the relay. The relay was good. I did do a test on the starter relay. See if I could just pop the starter with a bent metal clip. The starter didn't do anything. It didn't turn on or anything like that. So I was like, okay, at that point it was probably no other situation but the starter, because everything else worked in the vehicle, and I wasn't getting any kind of warning lights or anything like that. Check engine light, warning lights, nothing like that. So okay, so I took everything off and got to the starter, and I actually ran a cable from the positive of the battery to the solenoid of the starter, and try to turn it on, and got nothing. It didn't turn. I didn't hear anything, and there's no movement, no mechanical movement, nothing. So at that point, I knew that the starter was shot. All right, ended up taking the starter out, went back to AutoZone, and they replaced it for me with another refurbished. Now I was thinking about getting the brand new one, but I passed up on that, considering instead of getting another free one, I would have had to shelled out $300 for another brand new one, and I didn't want to do that. So I took my chances with another rebuilt one, popped it in, and turned it on, and it turned on the way it was supposed to turn on, cranked up immediately. Tried a couple of times, cranked it up a couple of times. It worked. So that was the problem. The starter was the problem with my no start situation. If you guys are still with me, here's the thing about it. Everything that I went through as far as the whole troubleshooting thing with going, looking at the battery, checking the battery, the fuses, the relays, the grounds, seeing if anything was kind of weird with the lights on the dash, all that stuff. It should actually take out about 90% of troubleshooting as far as your situation is concerned. Now, if you guys went down the list and absolutely none of those solve your issue, and the starter didn't solve your issue, and it wasn't the starter, I'm pretty sure it's probably your car's computer, but you probably need to diagnose that a lot more to figure that out. But anyway, I hope this has helped you guys out with your issues, your car issues. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, and if you guys can, please leave a message you guys want on your situation. Leave a message on your situation. All right, guys. But take care, guys. All right. Bye.